Hi, if you're watching this video, then you were absent from your history class on November 8th, 2019 on Friday. All right, checks and balances was our learning target today. We had just finished separation of powers. So after this lesson, you should be able to describe the purpose of checks and balances and how it works in our government to prevent tyranny. All right, so for this assignment, or this lesson, you'll need the separation of branches chart from yesterday, and you will also receive a note sheet that will go in your notebook about separation of power and checks and balances. Now, both of these papers will be glued into your spiral, and it really depends on your teacher's preference on what pages that they will go, so make sure that you ask that when you return on Monday. Now, the last 2 days we've been talking about the separation of power. We have a great chart. We looked over it. So now that we have three separate places that power is placed, how does that protect us from tyranny? Because one could certainly outpower the other. So our founders were pretty smart in looking at this, especially James Madison, the father of the Constitution, and he says, I have a plan for that. Checks and balances was that answer. Now, we know that we have the three branches, but like I said before, how do we keep one branch from becoming more powerful than the other? Now, checks and balances is a series of powers and checks over each other. The big enchilada actions our government takes has to be done by more than one branch. For instance, passing laws. The legislative branch passes laws. Now, the executive branch, which is the president, he can either sign it and it becomes a law, or he vetoes it. If we need a Supreme Court judge, they can't choose their own judges. The president gets to appoint the judges, and then the legislative branch approves them. If a member of Congress or the president or a Supreme Court justice breaks the law, there is an impeachment process that all branches are involved in. And of course, the judicial branch has a very powerful weapon called judicial review, and they're allowed to stop any executive action or law based on whether they have followed the rules of the Constitution. Now, when you're reading a chart like this is a typical looking chart of checks and balances, and let me show you how it's read. The executive branch, or the president, has checks on the legislative branch. So he has these two things that he can hold over Congress's head, and in case Congress gets stupid and tries to take more power. The legislative branch, they also have powers over the judicial branch. And so if you follow the arrows, that shows that power over that other branch. So this is a really good chart that you can use to understand checks and balances. This is the reading and the notes that you will put into your notebook. And at this point, what you need to do is pause the video and go to Edpuzzle. Log in with your Gmail or your Google account. When you get to your teacher's class, which you should be logged in automatically, you are going to click on the separation of power and checks and balances assignment. As you watch the video, it'll pause and you'll answer questions. Please be careful, because sometimes you got to click on more than one thing as you go through. So once you finish your Edpuzzle, please come back to the assignment. You can pause the video now. All right. Lucky, I'm sure that you did a great job on your Edpuzzle and you know a little bit more about checks and balances. So you need to turn to your notebook where your three branches of government chart is and your new notes to use this. We did some practice in class together on different scenarios and how checks and balances work. For instance, Justice Souter steps down from the Supreme Court, so we need a new court judge. So how does each branch get involved? The president nominates a new Supreme Court. The legislative branch has to approve that nomination. And the judicial branch does not have a check at all, meaning they're not involved in creating or a new position or replacing a new position for a Supreme Court justice. And we did this with several different scenarios. Now, at this point, we had some practice with some scenarios, so you'll get that sheet from your teacher. And then we asked for questions, and of course, then we did a closing task. Now, this is where you're going to demonstrate how you have you achieved the learning target? Are you able to do and have you learned what you were supposed to by the end of this lesson? So either on your own paper or an index card, put your name and title it closing task. You're going to turn this into your teacher, and you're going to answer these 4 questions. So you can use your notes, you can use your powers chart, or you can use just however the way you learned. So at this point, please stop the video, complete the closing task, and when you return on Monday, please make sure that you get all the necessary papers or anything that you need from your teacher, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.